Today's guest is empowering minds, enriching lives, and enriching businesses. We're super excited to have you here with us as we wrap up Black History Month here on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. Listen, every show is Black History Month, but to be technical, we wrap up our Black History Month business spotlights. I'm super excited to have you here with us on episode 755. Backed by popular demand, Natalie Bryan is with us, licensed clinical social worker, owner of Restoring Harmony Counseling and Consulting. And today's topic is mentally wealthy, WELL, mentally wealthy, thriving minds and thriving businesses. Again, you're here on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. Don't you move. We'll be right back.
Whoa. Why y'all so happy?
You don't know? Charvette Mitchell is on the radio.
It's time to get motivated, excited, and influenced. Why? It's the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, live from Richmond, Virginia. And now, here to motivate, excite, and influence you, Charvette Mitchell.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, but heard and seen all across the World Wide Web. Thank you again to those that hang out with us on Facebook, those that check us out on LinkedIn, certainly those that are on YouTube. Go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our good, juicy segments. So you'll get the notification, and certainly those that listen later to all of our podcast platforms, Apple and Spotify and Amazon Music. Certainly those that are like, hey, I just go to charvette.com and that's where I keep up with everything. Listen, we're glad that you are watching or listening as well here on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, where the goal is to motivate, excite, and influence. And we're going to be doing just that with today's segment, which I think is so great to talk about mental health as it relates to and as it pertains to business owners, which was what most of our audience is. So let us know if you're here live, comment. If you are checking this out later on, make a comment as well. You could say, hey, I stopped by. I'm catching the replay. We want to come back and give you and show you some love here on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. And again, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe. Matter of fact, no matter where you are watching us, definitely go over to our YouTube channel. It's very simple, youtube.com/Charvette. Subscribe. That is the most consistent place to capture our video content of our podcast. And it's really easy to watch and all those good things. All right. So let me introduce our guest as we see you all coming on in. Thank you for the hearts. I see those coming up already. So we are jumping back in again, backed by popular demand. A friend of the show, has been a sponsor of our past events, the Platform Builder Summit. Natalie Bryan is with us, licensed clinical social worker, certainly a seasoned professional with over 25 years in the health and human services field. She is a 5-time best-selling author who is deeply committed to community service and advocacy, certainly armed with a BS in interdisciplinary studies, concentrating in early childhood and psychology. And she continued her academic journey by earning a master's in social work. Her career has spanned and included things like case management and child protective services and mental health clinical services and dedicated work with veterans. She is the owner of Restoring Harmony Counseling and Consulting, among other things, and the visionary founder of Pearl. And you might have seen her if you are in the Georgia area. You might have seen her on Fox 54. She is a contributor as a news. She contributes as a news contributor on Fox 54, and she's back by popular demand on the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. Put your hands together as we bring Natalie live. Hey, Natalie, welcome back.
Hey, how are you doing?
Listen, we got to give you some applause and all the love and all the love. Thank you so much for being here. Listen, the room is filling up. A shout out to Betty Jean, always gonna be in the house. Shout out to cousins and sisters and friends, Deborah and
Yes.
Roberto. Listen, come on through, Erica, your social worker,
Yes.
mental health professional advocate. Hey, girl. Hey, welcome.
Hey.
And thank you. And thank you for joining us. And so, wow. So we've got a lot to catch up on.
I know, quite a bit.
Quite a bit. You've been a globe trotter. You've been like all over the world. But thank you so much for stopping by and letting us kind of like jump into this conversation. Really, today in episode 755, mentally wealthy, thriving minds, and thriving businesses. And so, as I jump in, entrepreneurship certainly comes with unique challenges. Stress, uncertainty, burnout, things of that nature. And so, from your experience, what are some of the key mental health challenges that small business owners face?
Absolutely. Things like isolation is big. Usually they're the ones that are everything, the marketer, the delivery person, the producer, the service provider, and usually they're kind of in that box alone unless they are able to afford a team, and usually most small businesses can't afford that. So they're usually pretty isolated, pretty by themselves trying to figure things out, and that can be quite a bit of a struggle. They also struggle with fear of failure, and I think that's every business owner, but the anxiety that goes along with fear of failure can be paralyzing. A lot of people don't realize that we sometimes get stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze. And, when our central nervous system is activated because of our anxiety or our fears. And so we get stuck in this place. So we don't move forward. We kind of stay the same. Even if we need a little bit of help, we don't ask for it. Embarrassment, shame, guilt, not being educated in a lot of the different ways and opportunities that are out there for us. So it definitely is, a real struggle for our small business owners. Another thing is, financial backing, the fear of how am I going to continue to move this business forward with limited finances, especially if you're a business of color. Financing is a large part. So that then, can trigger things besides anxiety, leading into depression, because sometimes when some anxious things aren't resolved because there doesn't seem to be any hope, depression starts to set in. So we want to be mindful of, our resources, creating a good support network around us, and even kind of getting out of our own way. We can get in our own way of success because of limited thinking. I call it stinking thinking.
Wow. That sounds like my senior pastor, Chief Apostle Brown, talks about that stinking thinking.
Yeah. Those thinking traps in our mind that keep us in a place of, paralysis. And, I think that people don't realize that our mind plays tricks on us.
Oh, yeah.
Our mind plays tricks on us. So we have to feed our mind the facts, because our mind will create its own narrative and run with it.
Make up a whole story.
Make up a whole story.
Rewrite history. All of that.
Yes, and we will be trapped in the middle of our mind doing that. Yeah. Another thing is imposter syndrome.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, definitely not feeling like we belong in the room. And sometimes being the only face that looks like ours in the room. So that can be really, really tough. And remember when I was just talking about the facts?
Yes.
The key way to battle imposter syndrome is to remind ourselves how awesome we are. Who is Charvette Mitchell?
Okay. Right.
How many entrepreneurs has Charvette Mitchell launched on platform builders? How many people in Richmond, Virginia know who Charvette Mitchell is in business and marketing as an expert and a consultant. We have to remind our brains about who we are, what we accomplished. I was sitting there just now and I'm laughing because, we always have to, it always comes to us first.
Yeah.
So as you're talking, and I'm like, ooh, who is?
Right. Reading your bio. Right.
Like, okay. But then I'm laughing because I was sitting there having that moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but I did that.
Absolutely.
I did that. But sometimes we are so, caught up in our own mind of not thinking we're enough, or we didn't accomplish more, or we also get trapped in the mindset or the generational curse cycles of what we've seen before us. So when you're someone like me, who's a first generation American, who is the first daughter of 5, who is breaking glass ceilings for everybody in my family. There's nobody before me creating that path. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in here like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going, So, when you're that person, you're the first business owner, the first entrepreneur, the first person making 4, 5, 6 figures a month, the first person talking about investments and stocks and things that we were not taught, probably because of our history, our family's history, lack of knowledge, not because we didn't want it or not because it wasn't something that we could do or learn about, but because we didn't have predecessors that thought about those things, because it was survival. It wasn't abundance.
Listen, Natalie, we are like 10 minutes in. She has just given you an Oprah life class. I just want to step off the screen and just let you go. This is so good. Shout out to all those. We see you, Tanya, popping on in. We see you, Dr. Jatanya, as well. This is so good because these aren't conversations that are had and are lifted up. In particular. And I'm always saying that we don't talk enough about, within entrepreneurship in particularly, the rejection. And I mentioned this on another show, how, an owner of a McDonald's and an owner of a Chick-fil-A might not know that I drove past Chick-fil-A and picked McDonald's, or I drove past McDonald's and pick Chick-fil-A. However, as small business owners, we're so close to our audience. We'll know if you're an accountant and somebody shouts out on social media, "Oh, I love my accountant," and it wasn't you, and they didn't pick you. We're so close in that piece of rejection. I think a lot of people haven't thought about, which keeps people stuck. So I'm tying it back into not moving because I don't want to experience that rejection. So
absolutely.
Any comment around that?
Yeah, you know what? I think that there's so much distrust in our community about having a business, owning a business, customer service, all of those things that come with being a business owner and an entrepreneur. And so rejection feels heavy when we get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we were a bigger business like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A and someone goes, who's thinking about it?
Right.
But when you see friends, loved ones, other people support someone else or go somewhere else, and you provide those same services, it then starts to kick up those anxieties, those fears, it's reinforcing the fears and the thinking that you've had trapped in your mind. And so then you are like, am I good enough? Like, is this even worth it? Am I able? Am I capable? And if my own family doesn't value me or my own friends don't value me, and I'm here building this thing, is it legitimate?
Ooh, questions on the table. If you're just popping on in, hey there. Thank you for being here on the Charlotte Mitchell Radio Show, episode 755, Mentally Wellthy, WELL. That is not a spelling error. That is intentional. We're just lifting up, having thriving minds, which is going to help you have a thriving business. And so, talk to us about the Wellthy, how you came up with the name, and kind of why you spell it that way.
So, as you know, I'm a founder of Pearl. So Pearl is my nonprofit providing education and advocacy to rebuild lives. And when I talk about mental health, people always think that that is one aspect and the only topic that I'm talking about. They don't think about mental health impacting all of their health. So when I'm talking about Wellthy, I'm talking about holistic health, your whole being, your wealth when it comes to finances, your wealth when it comes to spirituality, your wealth when it comes to your physical health, your wealth when it comes to your emotional health. Because even though people don't realize that your mental health impacts all of those areas, all
Period.
of those areas. And all of those areas impact your mental health because it is your whole being. So when I talk about mental health, I want people to think of wealthiness as in being well, being whole. And
Yeah.
that was really important for me. So when I went out, we started doing the Mentally Wealthy Community Conversations Conference. This year will be our 4th year. We always have it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Always have it in July here in Augusta, for June, for Minority Mental Health Month. I do stuff for Mental Health Month, but minorities definitely are the disparity when it comes to getting help for mental health and
Yeah.
mental illness. So I wanted to make sure that we promoted in that month specifically. And what I do is I bring in clinicians from my local community and I allow people to come in and recognize that we are humans. We are not aliens.
Right.
We are not just telling you to get on the couch and diagnosing you and doing all those things. That's not what we're doing. We are people that you can ask questions, get insight from, get information from. And so what I wanted to do is have them be able to reach one, teach one, have
Wow.
them be able to sit down, have conversations, have them recognize that just like with physical health, there's specialties in mental health. Play
Mm.
therapy, sex therapy, relationship therapy, trauma therapy, PTSD, any area of your life that you have a struggle in, there is a clinician that is a specialist for that particular area of mental health and wellness. And so what I wanted to do was just take the stigma and the burden out of I don't know where to go, I don't know who to talk to, and make it personal. So we don't only have trainings that day for a specific topic, but they are able to walk around, they're able to ask questions, they're able to talk to specialties and see if they're a good fit. They're
Oh,
able to
good.
make appointments, so that was really important to me to take the barrier out of making connections in our community.
Oh, well, good work there. Thank you so much for your work in that space. And so,
Thank you.
absolutely. And so, how can this is kind of a two-part question? How
Mhm.
can business owners
Mhm.
benefit from therapy? And probably more so, what's a sign that business owners should be seeking therapy and counseling?
Well, and I know this may come off very pitchy, but we did write a book together.
We did. We
Was
did.
called Businesses, and it was called Pearls, and it
Yeah,
talks about that. And in my particular chapter,
I got it somewhere around here.
yeah, we talked about my chapter. I said diamonds and pearls. And
Yeah.
the reason why, remember how we launched it off? The reason why I talked about diamonds and pearl is because for a diamond to come into creation, it goes under pressure
Talk about it.
for it to be developed. And then people don't realize that a pearl is created because it's an irritant. Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes we need some pressure. And sometimes we need a little bit of shaking up, a little irritation to get us to move into our destiny. And so I want people to recognize that, mental health as a business owner, I think is a necessity. But
Yeah.
I talk to people about mental health being a necessity for everyone, not just, hey, I go see a mental health therapist when I have a circumstance going on.
Mhm.
Because just like you go to the doctor and you get a checkup every year, you should check in on your mental wellness.
Yeah.
I've said this before, but the World Health Organization talks about healthy wholeness as
Mhm.
both your physical and your mental health. not just your physical health. Because if you're not well mentally, your body is going to act out what's going on. And then if you're not, and it's going to act out what your mind is telling it to do, erratic behavior, all that stuff. And if you're not well physically, your mind is going to go into those places of hopelessness, anxiety, depression, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So one interacts with the other. So I tell people, listen, just like you prioritize your physical health, prioritize your mental health, just for you to have the tools that when things come upon you, you are not so caught off guard and broken down that you're not able to recover in a way that isn't detrimental to not just you, but everyone around you, your family, etc.
Your customers, your businesses, which kind of speaks to, how, and I know you do a lot of work in like trauma recovery. How do past traumas or unresolved emotional wounds kind of show up in entrepreneurship?
Oh my goodness. Listen, it shows up in everything, in every relationship, not just, businesses, but it shows up in every relationship. Think about when, I don't remember if last time you remember, but for the people who don't know, I always talk about Dr. Joy DeGruy's post-traumatic slave syndrome and how some of our trauma is cellular, epigenetic. You know what I mean? So just like the past traumas of worry, fear, anxiety, hopelessness, those things are passed on. A lot of times we don't even realize today that a lot of our behaviors are learned behaviors out of survival, not necessarily out of what is appropriate. It's just survival. And so, when we have things from our past that keeps us trapped in a particular mindset. Think about someone who came up in a household of a learned behavior that didn't do well with money. It doesn't matter how much money that person makes. If they didn't do well with money, guess what? They're never going to be wealthy.
Yeah.
The money could come in, but the money is going to leave just as fast as it came in. They're not going to build legacy. They're not going to know how to teach their generations how to hold on to money because, number one, they may be bad with money, but prideful, shame or guilt, because they can't figure out how to get ahead, than to sit and learn, hey, this is how you deal with money.
So good. Let me, before you keep going, let me capture Deborah's comment from YouTube. She said, what is her website? We have it on the screen here. Also, if you're listening to the podcast, look down below in the show notes, but restoringharmonycounseling.com is the first website. Are you accepting therapy clients?
I am accepting actually, I literally just reopened my book. So I am accepting therapy clients. It's probably about 2 weeks out, but I am accepting therapy clients right now. And actually on the I Am Mentally Wellthy, in about 2 weeks, we're still working out some kinks with our website. We'll be accepting coaching clients.
Okay, great. And so location wise, so I know the therapy clients, where do they need to be located?
Georgia, South Carolina, and New Hampshire.
All right, Georgia, South Carolina, and New Hampshire. However, I am mentally wealthy.
Coaching can be anywhere.
Coaching can be anywhere. So just want to make that that distinction. So thank you so much for that. Hey, Stephen, thanks for popping on in. Okay, and so tell us a little bit more on the coaching side. So therapy, I think people are, well, maybe it might be a good point to make a distinction
between therapy and the coaching. Okay, so coaching is very goal oriented. It's about present and future focused. It's definitely more about a collaborative effort in getting you to your goals. Providing tools and accountability is a main part of coaching. It's not diagnosis based. And it doesn't treat mental health disorders. So if that is something that you're looking for, that's not it. But it's definitely there to help you develop some resilience to manage stress, maybe to learn some mindfulness techniques, and create actionable plans to help you achieve your professional goals for the business. But mental health, on the other hand, it is about treating mental health, mental illness, also, it is about diagnosing. It is about going back in history, exploring childhood experiences or, you know, incidences that impact your current behavior. Definitely about building coping strategies and mechanisms for whatever you're challenging right now.
All right, awesome. And so therapy side, again, Georgia, South Carolina, and New Hampshire, but the coaching side open, because we have viewers and listeners all across
all
the
over
world, really, actually. Shout out to Bahamas and at South Africa, I think we kept seeing on the report. So shout out there. Wow. And so maybe three quick strategies for entrepreneurs specifically, just to help like shift their mindset, you know, if they're operating throughout the day, 3 daily habits that might just support mental wellness.
I think 3 habits would be to take a break. It doesn't have to all get done all at one time. Take a break, take a rest, you know what I'm saying? And give yourself that opportunity. 2, set a schedule. You know, a lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we are burning the midnight oil. Up in the morning time, we're just go, 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 go. It's okay to set a schedule and really dedicate setting that boundary so that you can have a appropriate work-life balance. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying there aren't going to be times where you have to get things done, but that should not be your consistent thing. People don't realize that when we stay in those places of anxiousness and hypervigilance, the amount of cortisol that starts to run through our body, we're not regulated. That's unhealthy. That's usually used when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze for an actionable thing. So when your cortisol is elevated when you're at rest, that's a problem because that's extra stress on your heart, extra hormone through your body. It's not healthy for you. And I would say the last thing is to create a supportive network of like-minded individuals. You can have people around you, but they may not be like-minded. You need like-minded individuals that are trying to do the same or similar things. And that'll definitely be able to encourage you when you are not feeling at your best.
Yeah, well said, which is why it's important, I think, to go to conferences and events where there are like-minded. So shameless but non-shameless plug for the Platform Builder Summit that we have every November. We're coming up on our 9th year. You've been so gracious with Urban Tea House. So we'll talk a little bit about that to be sponsors at least 2 or 3 years for that. And so if you're on Facebook, the link to get your ticket for the Platform Builder Summit for this year is pinned there. And also tied to that, I think it is important, even like coaching programs or programs that'll help you with your business. There is this network that you get of support of at least people going in the same direction. So I think it's beneficial, and associations and things of that nature as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Urban Tea Room. Wait a minute, Tea House, Tea Room. Am I saying it right?
Tea Room. Yeah, you got it.
I don't know why Urban Tea House. So tell our listeners about like what's your tie there and what and all of that.
Oh my gosh. So I don't know if many of the listeners know I am Jamaican. And so, you know, Jamaicans are under the British rule. Tea has always been just a part of our culture, our upbringing. And, you know, I love how teas help to help. It's a part of my self-care. And that's how I tied it in. I just tied it into my mental wellness as being a part of my self-care. And so I opened the Urban Tea Room. So it is currently e-commerce, but we are actually opening a physical location. And so the website is urbantearoom.com, and we have over 150 blends. We make custom blends. Locally, we have helped a few massage therapists with their chemo patients with our blends. You know, I have this fun new thing called Books and Blends where some urban fiction writers, I have collaborated with them and created like book boxes. So I have tea flavors after those characters. So
that is so fun.
Yeah, it's been interesting and a joy. It really has been. So it helps me on my creative side.
Listen, Monique Mitchell said, no relation that I know, said, I love the tea. So you have a customer hanging out. Thank you, Monique, for being with us over on YouTube. Like, I love the teas. That is so great. Of that collaboration with the book and the tea. And so it ties into mental.
It does.
But to another, something else. And you do some things with real estate. And so you just really have these multiple streams of income. So how do you keep it all together?
Whew, I travel. I go rest and travel and drink my tea. Okay, that's what I do. I do that.
That's it. All right. Yeah.
But honestly, the teas, just having that creative outlet definitely helps. As clinicians, we have our own therapists, but having a creative outlet is also a part of mental wellness. It gives you something to do. Traveling is a part of my mental wellness. So I try to make those things a priority to keep me balanced.
All right. Wonderful. Last question. The goal of the show is to motivate, excite, and influence. And we want to know what continues to motivate Natalie Bryan.
Right now, my motivation is my house in Italy. That is my motivation. I love going there, and I enjoy travel, but to say, I have my own place in Italy that I get to go hang out sometimes. That's my motivation.
Oh my! Listen, thank you for being an example, not just somebody kind of talking the talk, but absolutely walking the walk. I am gravitating and bringing to this audience, not diss or knock on anything of people that I am seeing, like you have been in the trenches, you've been doing the work, and that's who I'm really excited to highlight versus, maybe people who are saying you're doing stuff and they're not actually doing it. But anyway, that's another show. So Natalie, thank you so much. This was great. Thank you so much for being here. Any final words, anything coming up that you want to let the listeners know about?
Well, we do have the Mentally Wellthy summit coming up in July. We are planning for that. And in May, I am doing some mental health talks online just to talk about different topics for mental health. That's for Mental Health Awareness Month. Okay. I do want to let you know that Mentally Wellthy will have its own podcast too.
Oh, okay. Hot off the press.
I know. So we will be launching that. So, I would love to have Ms. Charvette as my first guest.
Listen, just let me know where to be and I'll have my lashes on for you. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Val, for popping in. So good. So we'll keep up with you. Yes. Certainly, listeners, again, if you're listening to the podcast version, look down below in the show notes. If you are on YouTube, look down below in the show notes. If you're at charvette.com, we have a full blog post with Natalie's information and links to everything. And we've connected on social media. So thank you so much for stopping by. And we wish
you for having me.
Much more continued success.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Diaz. Yes to the podcast. Look, Natalie, you guys might get Monique is like, I can't wait. So Natalie, she's still back in the green room. She can hear this. So this means you can't back out. Like, I hope you've already, you cannot back out. You cannot, put this back on the burner. So you have to do it because you've made the announcement and the world is waiting for you. All right. So thank you so much again for being here with us. This wraps up officially our Black History Month spotlight. But however, it's the Charvette Metro Radio Show. So, we celebrate Black history 24/7. But thank you for being here. If you are listening to the podcast, please do two things. Subscribe to the podcast so that it'll send you notifications so you don't miss anything. And go ahead and give us a good rating. So if you're on listening to Apple or Spotify, wherever, subscribe and then go ahead and scroll down, give us a 5-star rating, right? And then if you're over on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. So Facebook is making some updates. So those of you that are business owners or you might be a nonprofit or a ministry, they're making updates related to live streams and how long live streams will stay available. And so I got my notice, I think in June, they will start deleting live streams after 30 days. So but our content is everywhere. So YouTube is, I encourage you, YouTube.com/Charvette. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that way, you know, we have episodes out there from years and years ago. So, and if you're subscribed to the podcast, you can go back to, oh my goodness, shows we've done like we did in 2008. So thank you, cuz Roberto, coming in from New York. Thank you, Deborah, for being here. Wonderful information as well. All right, it's a wrap. I'll see you all later on the web, and it's all peace and love. Bye.
Live from Richmond, Virginia, you've been listening to the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show. Get Charvette Mitchell every Tuesday at 6 p.m., interviewing all the stars you want to hear from. So until next week, stay motivated, excited, and influenced. This is the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show.